This girl's name is OK Chan Mai. She is currently a sophomore at Busan High School. She's walking along the beach, calling her twin brother, Chan Kyu, who is a sophomore at Yongtan High School in Seoul. She tells him she's competing in the shooting finals tomorrow. He challenges her to win a gold medal, which gives her even more motivation to compete. He promises to visit her in Busan this weekend and tell her an extremely important secret. She whines and asks him to tell her now, but he's just about to say something when someone walks up to him. He gestures for her to wait a moment and says he'll call back. As soon as he finishes talking, he is pushed from the classroom window by this stranger, causing him to log out of the call. His phone doesn't turn off, but it falls to the ground and someone picks it up and turns it off. She feels confused. The next day, Chan Mai goes to Jeongnam International Shooting Range to compete in the 25m shooting competition. She performs well in the first round and takes the lead. However, during the next round, she loses her focus. She remembers when she and her brother were abandoned at the Jinhee Cherry Blossom Festival as children. She misses her target and only wins a bronze medal. She could have won first place, but remembering her last call with her twin brother, she couldn't keep her promise to him from the day before. 3 days have passed, and Chan Mai still hasn't been able to call her twin brother. She starts to worry about him. Meanwhile, King Kong Bowling Alley employee, Soo-hyun, needs to leave early today because he has something important to do. He asks the owner for permission, but one CO isn't there yet to cover his shift. He sends an SOS message to one CO asking for help, but receives a message that says, "Sorry, I can't." He's forced to work his full shift. He rushes to see his mother. They go for a walk and talk about finding a good university. While waiting for the traffic light to change to go home, he feels dizzy and faints. People passing by quickly take him to the hospital. After examining him, the doctor asks Soo-hyun to bring a guardian with him the next day. The next day, Chan Mai returns to Hansung Orphanage, where she and her brother grew up. She also buys gifts for the children there. Back in her room, she looks at pictures of herself and her brother from childhood to adulthood. She remembers when they were young, they took a picture together, but then had to separate because her brother was adopted by a family. They promised to meet again in the military and cried because they didn't want to leave each other. She goes to the gates of Yongtan High School and asks 2 young men if they know anyone named OK Chan Kyu. The 2 boys look at each other and say they don't know him, then walk into the school. She realizes she called her brother by his childhood name. After being adopted, he changed his name to Park Won-seo. She asks the 2 boys again, and they scratch their heads, looking flustered. They tell her that he's dead. The news hits her like a bolt from the blue, and she feels numb. She runs to the place where his ashes are kept and cries uncontrollably. She sees his adoptive parents praying there. She blames them for not telling her and asks why her brother died. His adoptive parents say, "Are you blaming us now?" They say they had no idea they were still in contact. During his time with his adoptive parents, he never mentioned being in contact with or seeing his twin sister. They were cold, as he wasn't their biological child, and even blamed him for being obsessed with her, making them look bad. They say he committed suicide at the school. Before leaving, she begs them to give her his phone, but the father says the police couldn't find it at the school. She is devastated. The investigator is watching footage from the morning of her brother's suicide, contemplating something. At this point, Chan Mai goes to the police station to report what happened. After insisting that her brother didn't commit suicide, the investigator concludes by saying, "People who commit suicide usually make negative choices," and adds, "His adoptive parents have accepted the police investigation results." The police concluded it was a suicide, which made her furious. She yelled at them, saying, "You just sit there, make judgments, and close the case with one sentence? That's too unfair to the deceased." The detective could only watch helplessly as Chan Mai cried out in pain and grievance. She went up to the rooftop, feeling suffocated and heartbroken. She was determined to find the person who murdered her brother and get revenge. She decided to transfer to Yongtan High School, where her brother attended, to make it easier to investigate the murderer. She boarded the bus in Busan, telling herself she would find the killer. After Soo-hyun finished his boxing training, his coach offered him a spot on the team. He declined, saying he wanted to focus on his studies. He scrolled through a used goods website, hoping to find his lost motorcycle. To his surprise, he found it. He rushed to the location to get it back, but just then, Chan Mai arrived and saw the motorcycle. She liked it and decided to buy it. Soo-hyun mistook her for a robber, stopped her, and demanded she get off. She told him she had already paid for it and it was now hers. While they were arguing, someone told him to put the bulky motorcycle away. He went over to unlock it, but it wouldn't start. Chan Mai found this guy really annoying and drove off. She went to a shared lodging house called Chungma to rent a room. Since she was a high school student, the landlord refused to rent to her, but after some pleading, he finally agreed. The thief who sold the motorcycle had installed a tracker on it. He and his accomplices were trying to steal the motorcycle when Soo-hyun arrived, causing them to run away. He chased after them and tried to fight them, but the guy in the orange shirt threw a flower pot at his head, knocking him unconscious. He was holding his head and walking in the middle of the road when a truck came barreling towards him. At that moment, Chan Mai came by and pulled him to the side of the road. She said, "Consider this even," and walked away. The next day, she went to the school her brother attended, determined to find the person responsible. As she was turning a corner, Soo-hyun's motorcycle came whizzing past, causing her to jump and fall into a trash can, face down. What a coincidence. It was a real clash of destiny. It was her first day at school, and already she was having terrible luck. Her clothes were dirty. Feeling guilty, Soo-hyun gave her his jacket to wear and then went to school. As she walked around campus, wondering what to eat for lunch, two girls spotted her wearing Soo-hyun's uniform. Oh, Cook Jae-hyun was going to tear her apart. Chan Mai asked them where the shooting range was, but they pointed in two different directions and ran off. Jae-hyun was astonished. Who dared to wear her crush's jacket? The physical education teacher was overjoyed to have Chan Mai join the shooting team. He flexed about being an artilleryman in the army. He introduced Chan Mai to the class. Soo-hyun and the girls were surprised to see her in their class. The teacher also bragged about how she won first place in a national essay contest, causing Jae-hyun to roll her eyes. He asked Soo-hyun where his uniform was. Chan Mai remembered and took it out of her bag, saying, "Here it is." The whole class turned around to look at her. Some of the boys teased Soo-hyun, saying, "You're dating now." Jae-hyun was furious. Yi-bum was also a student at Yongtan High School. He had lost his memory due to an accident and had to repeat a year. As he sat down, a girl with white hair next to him winked, making him feel a little nervous. At lunchtime, Chan Mai ate with a girl from the shooting team. Chan Mai asked if she knew someone named Park Won-seo. The girl thought Chan Mai was just gossiping since she had just transferred. She said Park Won-seo's girlfriend, Hong Eun, was probably the most heartbroken. Chan Mai said she wanted to get her number. At the end of the last class, Chan Mai said she was going to practice shooting. At that moment, Soo-hyun was also packing his bag and asked the teacher if he could leave early because he had something to do. Jae-hyun was suspicious and thought they were skipping school to go on a date. Chan Mai called Hong Eun, but unexpectedly, Soo-hyun answered the phone. How did he get her phone? She followed him onto the bus and saw him going to Woo-sung Hospital. She trailed behind him. Feeling like someone was watching him, he turned around. He was about to approach where Chan Mai was hiding when the doctor called his name. The doctor told him he had a brain tumor and only had 6 months to a year to live. Soo-hyun was shocked, and Chan Mai, listening from outside, heard everything. Soo-hyun went to the beach and sat there, lost in thought. The next day, Chan Mai decided to go to the accident site where her brother had fallen. It was cordoned off with no entry signs, but she decided to go inside. She remembered the last words her brother had said before he left, and when she saw his outstretched hand, she turned around. Suddenly, Soo-hyun was standing behind her. She jumped and asked, "How did you get here?" Soo-hyun said, "I wasn't close to Won-seo, but when I saw him jump, I called the police." Chan Mai was stunned by Soo-hyun's statement that he witnessed her brother's suicide. They sat together, shared their thoughts, and fed the cat lunch. Soo-hyun said, "If you don't come to class anymore, you'll feed him every day, okay?" She agreed and asked him how he had called the police. He told her that he was feeding the cat when he saw Won-seo fall from the classroom window. She initially thought her brother had committed suicide, but after hearing his words, she was certain that someone had pushed him. She went into the cafeteria and saw Soo-hyun laughing and joking with his friends. Knowing he was sick but still so optimistic, she felt a pang of sympathy for him. She decided to pretend like she hadn't heard anything at the hospital. As she was eating, Min-seo dropped her lunch tray and looked terrified when she saw Sa-young-jong. A year ago, she had been sexually assaulted by him in the photo lab. She had reported it to the police, but without enough evidence, the case was closed. Chan Mai was walking into the classroom when she bumped into this garbage man. While looking for her friend's wallet, they mentioned her brother. Sa-young-jong mocked Won-seo, saying that he had chosen to die and wasn't a man. Chan Mai got angry and confronted him. Seeing her confront him, he wanted to punch her. Just then, Yi-bum stood up and criticized his words. He said, "Do you think your parents' money will save you?" and tried to drag him out to beat him up. At that moment, Oh-sung walked in, reminding him of the promise he had made in the principal's office. Sa-young-jong didn't dare to cause any trouble and left. Soo-hyun continued to see the doctor, who advised him to take medication to prevent the tumor from growing. He could manage his daily symptoms. The doctor advised him to change his personality and keep his mind calm and peaceful. Back at school, Chan Mai was practicing shooting when her teacher brought Yi-bum to her. The teacher said he wanted to improve his memory and asked Chan Mai to guide Yi-bum as he got used to practicing shooting. She became his coach, and he took it seriously. In the evening, Soo-hyun went to return Hong A-young's phone. It turned out she was working for an entertainment company. She gave her phone to Soo-hyun because it had a tracker on it, and she was afraid her mother would find out she was skipping school to work. She checked her phone and saw a bunch of messages from Chan Mai, who wanted to meet and ask some questions about Park Won-seo. Seeing Yi-bum looking tired, Oh-sung reminded Chan Mai not to turn him into a professional athlete. Yi-bum disagreed and hoped she would continue to teach him during future training sessions. Yi-bum was on his way home when he saw Chan Mai driving nonchalantly. He signaled for her to stop and ran out to talk to her. He was so happy to see her that he called out to her but couldn't say anything. He made up an excuse that he hadn't thanked her yet and asked for her number. At that moment, Soo-hyun passed by and saw the two of them laughing. He went to her lodging house to ask why she knew Park Won-seo. She lied and said she knew him from the shooting club. He explained that he was holding Hong A-young's phone and knew she was looking for her. Chan Mai acted as if she didn't care, saying she needed to see Hong A-young, not him. Soo-hyun was stunned and sat down, holding his head. The next day, he went to school looking pale and began to feel dizzy and lightheaded. He suddenly felt nauseous and ran to the bathroom. Chan Mai worriedly went to the men's bathroom and saw a pool of blood on the floor. She called out Soo-hyun's name and saw him emerge from another stall. They discovered that Min-seo had committed suicide inside. Soo-hyun quickly provided first aid, and Chan Mai called an ambulance. Sa-young-jong, standing on the rooftop, shook his head and said, "What a fool." Soo-hyun looked up and saw Sa-young-jong and his friends watching. The detective also noticed the female student, Chan Mai, at the school. They guessed she had transferred to find the murderer, and the young man next to them was the one who had called to report it. They both changed their clothes and went to take statements. After receiving the news that Min-seo had woken up, they both breathed a sigh of relief. So Yeon went to the hospital to visit COA. Her father told her that she had just been given sedatives and was asleep. So Yeon cried, expressing her sympathy for COA. She confided in COA's father that she had also been a victim of school violence and promised him that she would make that bastard drop out of school. Soo-hyun covered his face and went to find the scoundrel, Sa-young-jong, to beat him up. He threatened to make him drop out and transfer schools the next day. Seeing the photo of Seo being violated, he became enraged and beat Sa-young-jong unconscious. Then, he took a hammer and broke his leg. The next day, Chan Mai went to visit her brother. Remembering what So Mai said the day before, she was disappointed. Why would he do that, she thought. Soo-hyun also went to visit his deceased brother, only to run into Chan Mai there. She had no choice but to tell him the truth and asked him to keep it a secret. He invited her to a rice cake shop for breakfast, and she quickly agreed. When they arrived, however, they found it closed. Soo-hyun handed her a sandwich and then told her about his brother. Years ago, a group of boys wouldn't let him use the restroom. They forced him to kneel and beg before agreeing. He had been isolated and bullied by them and couldn't take it anymore. When his mother went to the school to visit him, she accidentally witnessed his death. She collapsed and had been hospitalized ever since. At school, everyone was celebrating the news of Sa-young-jong's expulsion. They ran to the windows and watched him arrive to withdraw from school, forced to sit in a wheelchair. They all shouted insults at him, saying he deserved what he got. Just then, Soo-hyun and Chan Mai arrived at the school and saw him leaving. During gym class, Jae-hyun approached Chan Mai and asked if they were dating, but Chan Mai denied it. Chan Mai suddenly saw Oh-sung and remembered what So Mai had told her. He was the one who had been sitting in the stands, looking down with a mysterious expression. As the game was getting heated, Oh-sung stole the ball and knocked Hyun to the ground, causing him to hit his head on the wall and faint. The teacher quickly took him to the hospital. Jae-hyun argued with Oh-sung. After a heated argument, she said, "Are you going to kill everyone who doesn't like you?" Oh-sung was about to hit her but was stopped by others. Chan Mai was in the shooting range, deep in thought when Yi-bum walked in. She said, "I need your help with something." Soo-hyun woke up and went outside. Jae-hyun was waiting for him. She took a towel to wipe his sweat, but he avoided her gesture and said thank you. They were walking and talking when So-yeon purposely bumped into Jae-hyun and quickly went inside. Soo-hyun quickly realized she was in disguise and pulled Jae-hyun outside to have lunch. COA was excited and happy to hear that Sa-young-jong was expelled, although she was still upset. Her father was relieved to see her so happy. So Yeon went to see COA's father, took the money he had paid Soo-hyun, and thanked him for what he had done. They both agreed to keep it a secret and pretend they never met. The police department received a file about the school violence case. They were appalled by the violence, specifically the use of a hammer to break someone's toes. The police chief ordered them to quickly apprehend the perpetrator and punish him without mercy. Chan Mai asked Yi-bum to tell Oh-sung to meet with her privately. She asked him why he didn't handle the situation with So Mai's pregnancy, but instead had Won-seo take care of it. Oh-sung asked how she knew him and why she was bringing up that issue. Oh-sung claimed that he was a good person, which confused Chan Mai. She was certain that Won-seo didn't commit suicide. Oh-sung said it was a complicated issue and left. She was disappointed because she hadn't gotten any information from him. She noticed that he had left his phone on the table and ran out to call him. Oh-sung quickly got into his car and drove home, ignoring Chan Mai's call to return. She chased after his car, went to his house, and rang the doorbell. Chan Mai was surprised when Jae-hyun came out to get the phone. It turned out that they were twins, but no one at school knew about their relationship. Jae-hyun scoffed at Oh-sung and demanded that he deal with this. So Yeon went to the bowling alley and gave Soo-hyun the money she had promised him. The next morning, the whole Oh-sung family was having breakfast. He quickly finished and went to the spot where Chan Mai usually parked, waiting for her. He told her that 2 years ago, his father remarried Jai Hyan's mother. Chan Mai understood and said she would keep it a secret. Oh Sung was very happy, and from then on, they were friends. During break time, there was news that the police were investigating Sa Young Jong, which made Soo Hyun nervous. The detective was asking about the specific situation at the time, and all the students at school opposed the investigation. They checked the security footage and saw a female student on an electric scooter stopping at the place where the perpetrator jumped over the wall. Meanwhile, Chan Mai sat talking to her friends, suspecting that Soo Hyun might be the one behind her brother's death. She couldn't shake off the things her friends and So Mai had told her. Soo Hyun was the one who had dealt with the bullies, and she knew he lived below the boxing gym. She boldly went inside to investigate. Just then, Soo Hyun returned. She found a pair of his shoes covered in blood and decided to take them. She peeked outside and saw Soo Hyun holding his head, blood running down his nose. Taking advantage of him having his back turned, she quickly slipped out and went home. Soo Hyun, standing on the rooftop, saw Chan Mai rushing back home. He realized she had sneaked into his room and ran inside. He looked for the shoes he'd worn that day, but they were gone. Chan Mai had just returned to her lodging house when the police arrived to question her. They showed her a screenshot of the security footage and asked if it was her. She admitted it was, and they asked who she had met that day. She frankly replied that she had met Soo Hyun. He was working at a store when the police arrived and took him in for questioning. They wanted him to confess, but he was very clever with his answers and was released. Soo Hyun thought the police must have known about it and was disheartened, picturing himself being arrested. The next morning at school, he saw Chan Mai waiting for him at the parking lot. She returned his shoes from the day before and apologized for misunderstanding him. She explained that she had no choice but to be questioned by the police because she had met him that day. He angrily told her to go back to Busan, saying that the person who killed her brother wasn't the hero everyone thought he was. She asked what he meant by that, but he didn't answer and went to class to sleep. As she tried to wake him up, Jai Hyan angrily dragged her outside. They had a heated verbal exchange, and then Chan Mai left. Soo Hyun was afraid of being discovered, so he quickly packed up all the belongings related to the incident with Sa Young Jong and threw them away. As he was leaving, he saw a police officer, which scared him. He was cleaning up when he saw a woman waiting for her husband. Unexpectedly, it was his doctor. The next day, Chan Mai opened her closet and found a note that said, "I'll tell you a secret. Meet me." She went to the meeting spot and waited, but someone hit her and knocked her unconscious. The person used her fingerprint to unlock her phone. Chan Mai woke up and saw Yi Bum. He asked why she was in the lecture hall, but she hid the truth. He revealed that he had seen her go inside, so he had followed her. The next day, Jai Hyan went to school dressed a bit revealingly. She noticed people whispering and gossiping about her, but she didn't know what was going on. A classmate showed her a picture of Jai Hyan wearing lingerie, taken from a modeling shoot. Jai Hyan was extremely embarrassed and angry. She went to confront Seo Dayon, who said she had received the picture from Chan Mai. Dayon even showed her a screenshot of the text messages Chan Mai sent her. Chan Mai was returning to class from the nurse's office when she saw everyone surrounding her. Jai Hyan stepped forward and slapped her hard, shocking everyone. She was about to hit her again when Soo Hyun came over and stopped her. He pulled Chan Mai away from the crowd, ignoring Jai Hyan, who was stunned. Soo Hyun said he didn't want her to be caught on camera and get in trouble, but she wasn't scared and wanted to fight back. He advised her to go back to her old school because she would suffer a lot of harm and danger if she stayed. Chan Mai asked Dayon to talk privately and asked to see the text messages. Dayon turned against her, saying she couldn't believe Chan Mai would do something so dirty. She remembered being knocked unconscious by someone. Chan Mai went to Yi Bum and told him about being knocked unconscious the day before and said she thought Jai Hyan was behind it. Jai Hyan blamed So Yeon, saying that she was the victim and Soo Hyun was protecting Chan Mai. He said he didn't want her to hurt innocent people. They were having lunch when they ran into Chiang Mai and Yi-bum. Yi-bum said he had gotten the security footage from the principal and would get justice for her. He went to the security room to get the footage and saw his acquaintance who had knocked her unconscious. He went to Chiang Mai and lied, saying there was nobody. Back in class, everyone was buzzing about the news that Jai Hyan and Oh Sung were living together. Jai Hyan was convinced that Chiang Mai had spread the rumors. Oh Sung called Jai Hyan to the rooftop. They both blamed each other for making Chiang Mai angry. Jai Hyan told him to deal with Chiang Mai and stop her from causing trouble. Oh Sung went to the police station to see his father and told him about the serious conflict between Jai Hyan and Chiang Mai. He suggested that the solution was to expel Chiang Mai and send her back to her old school. After school, Chiang Mai received a text message from Jai Hyan asking her to meet at a parking lot. She went, only to see Jai Hyan and several other girls waiting for her. Soo-hyun had just finished showering and looked out the window at the parking lot from afar. He saw Jai Hyan sitting on a car and Chiang Mai fighting with 4 girls. Jai Hyan returned happily, as if she had vented her anger. Soo-hyun ran to the scene and saw Chiang Mai in a pitiful state. As he was cleaning up the mess, he found her dropped wallet. She returned to the dorm and saw photos of her nude on the wall. She quickly tore down the defamatory pictures. The landlord came out and told her she had to leave immediately because the police had warned him about renting to minors. Soo-hyun came to give her her wallet and asked where she was going to sleep. He offered to let her stay at his place. Having no other option, she agreed. He gave her his room and took her out to eat. She hadn't eaten all day and was hurt from the fight. Oh Sung had obtained Chiang Mai's pictures and text messages from her phone and discovered they were twins. The next morning, to thank him, Chiang Mai made breakfast for him. He complimented her cooking. Afterwards, they went to school as usual. As they waited at a stoplight, Yi-bum, who was in a car, waved to Chiang Mai. She went to put her things in a locker and found another note asking her to meet at the lecture hall during the 5th period. Chiang Mai turned around and saw Jai Hyan. She decided to have it out with her. She said she wouldn't leave the school and that she would make her pay for what she had done. So-yeon went to confront the Oh Sung brothers, making him furious. Sa-young-jong made a deal with Oh Sung to meet him outside the school gates. He demanded that Oh Sung investigate who had attacked him. Oh Sung said he would take care of it and warned him not to come to the school looking for him again. Sa-young-jong came to play basketball while Soo-hyun was sleeping in a corner. Hearing the noise, he woke up and saw Yi-bum running out and telling Sa-young-jong's group to leave. The 2 big guys went over and knocked Yi-bum down. They were about to beat him up when Soo-hyun came over. He got into a fight and knocked them all out, which made Sa-young-jong extremely suspicious of him. Chiang Mai still decided to go to the lecture hall for the senior student event. She wondered why the person had taken her there, so she decided to go in and see. The projector was displaying a video of a temple scene, but the screen suddenly changed. Someone had replaced it with a video of one CO falling from the window. Everyone in the auditorium was shocked, especially Chiang Mai. She was surprised to see that her brother was on the phone when he was pushed down. The police could only see the legs of the person who pushed him and started investigating. They were also wondering how the monk's video was replaced with this murder video. The captain ran out to stop the investigation, saying this case didn't concern their department. The investigator tried to persuade the captain, but was reminded of a past mistake. The chief saw that everyone at school knew about it, and they were forced to put her in charge of the case. Chiang Mai cried a lot and then went home to Soo-hyun's place. He felt sorry for her but didn't know how to comfort her. Meanwhile, Yi-bum went to see Oh Sung and questioned him about who had leaked the video. Yi-bum showed him a picture he had gotten from the security room and told him to stop causing trouble for Chiang Mai. Yi-bum presented clear evidence that he was behind the rumor that Chiang Mai had posted Jai Hyan's picture. He admitted that he wanted Chiang Mai to leave the school and promised Yi-bum he wouldn't let her know about it. He asked him not to cause trouble for her. Oh Sung revealed that Chan Mai was Won Seo's twin sister. So Yeon was on her way home from work when Jae Hyun and her friends dragged her to a dark corner and beat her up. The next day, Yi Bum saw a pair of limited edition shoes hanging on a tree. He thought they were Oh Sung's. Just then, Oh Sung came out wearing the exact same pair, intentionally intimidating him. Oh Sung subtly denied being involved with Chan Mai, making Yi Bum believe him. Chan Mai opened her closet and found another note asking her to meet and telling her a secret. During class, the teacher called her to the police consultation room. Everyone in the class was surprised. How could Chan Mai, who had transferred after Won Seo's death, be involved? She didn't go to see the police but went to the meeting spot as stated in the note. Just then, Hosok Yi Bum appeared in front of Chan Mai in the shooting range, but the person who sent her the note was someone else, not him. At that moment, a mysterious figure walked by, and the two of them chased after him. But they lost him as soon as they got outside. Seok Yi Bum said he was in gym class and saw Chan Mai walk in. He worried that she might be bullied, so he went to check on her. Chan Mai thanked him for his concern and then asked him to guess if the mysterious person was the one who caused the incident in the lecture hall. Seok Yi Bum wasn't sure if it was Oh Sung, so he didn't know what to say. Later, Chan Mai went to see the two detectives at her school. They apologized for the delay in investigating her brother's case. She told them that she just wanted justice for her brother and then recounted the last video call she had with him. Chan Mai said that when she video chatted with her brother, someone was behind him, but she couldn't see their face clearly. Furthermore, her brother didn't seem unusual at the time. After telling them this, Chan Mai said she wanted to know where the video of her brother falling was taken. But the police, knowing she was too involved in the investigation, declined to provide her with information. They understood that doing so would put her in danger. At the same time, Seok Yi Bum called Oh Sung to ask if he was the one who sent the note to Chan Mai. Oh Sung said that he had only dealt with Chan Mai about the incident in the lecture hall. Seeing that Oh Sung wasn't responsible, Seok Yi Bum didn't ask any further questions and left, feeling curious. After Chan Mai was finished being questioned, Jae Soo-hyun was called in. Through questioning, Jae Soo-hyun revealed that Chan Mai's brother, Chan Kyu, was closest to Oh Sung. In the evening, when Jae Soo-hyun got home, Chan Mai saw him and ran down. She said she needed to go to her brother's adoptive parents' house to pick up some of Chan Kyu's things and asked Jae Soo-hyun to drive her there. He agreed and took her. Chan Kyu's adoptive parents brought out a suitcase of his belongings, but they didn't seem sad that their adopted son had passed away. Jae Soo-hyun saw their attitude and said angrily that they were heartless to care only about whether their son committed suicide or was murdered. Why didn't they want to know who had killed him? Chan Mai stopped Jae Soo-hyun, afraid his hot temper would cause trouble, and told him to go home. The two of them went back and tried to open the suitcase. Chan Mai remembered that she and her brother always used the same password for the suitcase and tried Zo401. It worked. Inside were only toys and a few pictures of them from when they were young. The next day at school, Chan Mai found out that a Jeong had returned to school and asked her to talk. Chan Mai asked the Jeong if she was her brother's girlfriend, but she denied it. Chan Mai pulled out a picture of Chan Kyu with a Jeong, but she still denied it, saying that a Jeong had asked Chan Kyu to pretend to be her boyfriend before and that she already had a boyfriend now. A Jeong left to have lunch with Jae Soo-hyun and T So-yeon, having only come to hear those few words. Seeing her eating so well and so much made the two friends a bit puzzled. Chan Mai slammed her fist on the table, which caught Jae Soo-hyun's attention. He immediately took a Jeong to get checked. Seeing the results, her two friends were shocked and asked if she had a plan. She said that her mother knew and had decided to have the baby because she had a good relationship with the baby's father, but she couldn't reveal who he was at this time. She asked her friend T So-yeon to wear heavy makeup and pretend to be her older sister to accompany her to the ultrasound appointment. The scene shifts to Chan Mai arriving at the piano cafe, where her brother told her he'd gone on dates with friends. After confirming that it was the right place, she asked the owner about Chan Caillou. The owner said she didn't know him, but the barista happened to mention his name, surprising Chan Mai. She and the barista went outside to talk. He said he and Chan Caillou had been classmates and that he was a friend's savior. Years ago, he had been bullied in school, but thanks to Chan Caillou, he was able to continue attending school. He also praised Chan Mai's brother, saying he was a good person. That same morning, T So-yeon and a Jeong arrived at the ultrasound clinic. As a Jeong was about to go in, a young man blocked the door and entered first. The doctor realized that this was her daughter's ex-boyfriend and likely came to cause trouble. The man, Ju Hyuk-jin, had been sued for causing harm to her daughter years ago. He threatened the doctor to drop the lawsuit. Hearing this, a Jeong couldn't get her ultrasound done and went home. T So-yeon was upset because she'd heard that the doctor's daughter had been murdered and the killer was still walking free. She decided to visit the doctor to agree to help her daughter get justice. She then went to see Jae Soo-hyun to negotiate with him to deal with Ju Hyuk-jin. She offered to pay for his mother's 6 months of hospital bills if he would force Ju Hyuk-jin to kneel and apologize to the victim's mother. Jae Soo-hyun agreed and said he would make a plan and let her know. The scene shifts to Kai Oh-sung and Seok Yi-bum resting during their break time at school. Just then, Jae Soo-hyun walked up, but Seok Yi-bum had something to tell him and left Oh-sung behind. This made Oh-sung feel left out and somewhat distant from his senior. To make matters worse, he saw the two of them making plans to watch a basketball game that evening, which made him a bit sad. After school, Seok Yi-bum asked Kai Oh-sung about the picture of him riding a horse with Chan Caillou. Having amnesia, he didn't recognize the girl. Kai Oh-sung looked at the picture nervously and hid it, then dragged his senior away. The scene shifts to Ju Hyuk-jin. Since he was released from the juvenile detention center, he had been working at a car repair shop. T So-yeon was secretly following him to get more information. After getting some information from the owner of a nearby cafe, she went back and told Jae Soo-hyun. She said the scoundrel worked and stayed at the garage, so threatening him there was the best opportunity. Jae Soo-hyun canceled his plans with Seok Yi-bum to take action that night. Soo-hyun, having made his plans, snuck into the repair shop. Ju Hyuk-jin, lost in his work with the radio blaring, didn't hear a thing. As he turned around, Soo-hyun slammed him unconscious. He tied up the man who had murdered the doctor's daughter and threatened him. "Should I cut off your hands and feet to avenge the female student you killed?" Soo-hyun asked menacingly. Ju Hyuk-jin was terrified, but with the tape over his mouth, he could only scream silently. Jae Soo-hyun then said, "If you want to apologize, tell Shim Yoon-jin's mother that you killed her." Ju Hyuk-jin, utterly petrified, nodded frantically. After finishing the task, Soo-hyun packed his things and quietly slipped away. The next day, he reported back to his friend, confidently stating that he had completed the mission. He had no idea that a storm was brewing. The police were swarming the scene, investigating the crime. Ju Hyuk-jin was found dead, completely oblivious to how it had happened. Chan Mai returned home to find Si-jin waiting for her. Si-jin revealed that he had known all along that she and Chan Caillou were siblings, but he had been waiting for her to tell him before he revealed what he had to say. He admitted to being the one who left the note in Chan Mai's locker that day. He explained that he was the one who filmed the video of Chan Caillou's death and had shown it to the class. Chan Mai wanted to hear more, wanting to know the reasons behind his actions. Si-jin told her that on the day Chan Caillou died, he happened to see him talking to someone and decided to film it as a joke. However, he was hiding behind a wall, and the video captured Chan Caillou falling and dying. Scared, Si-jin ran away and didn't go to school after that. He didn't dare watch the video, which resulted in the story becoming about Chan Caillou committing suicide. But after knowing he was going to America, and wanting to face the truth, Si-jin decided to watch the video again. He was surprised to see someone pushing Chan Caillou down. To reveal the truth without anyone noticing, he He uploaded the video to the projector in the classroom. Chan Mai asked if he suspected anyone. Si Jin said he recognized the shoes of the attacker, believing it was Soo Hyun. This incident made Chan Mai more attentive to Soo Hyun's shoes. At the same time, the news about Chan Mai and Chan Kyu being siblings spread throughout the school. Everyone was surprised, considering how well Chan Mai had kept it a secret. While Chan Mai was deep in thought, Kuk Jae-hein approached her, mocking her about Chan Mai and Chan Kyu being siblings. She then sneered that Chan Mai was hiding this information while trying to uncover the school's secrets. A Jeong, listening to the conversation, couldn't stand it and defended Chan Mai, calling Kuk Jae-hein out. Chan Mai responded by accusing a Jeong of being involved because she was mourning her ex-boyfriend's brother. This was the final straw for Chan Mai, who was furious and punched Kuk Jae-hein. The fight left Kuk Jae-hein with a black eye, causing her mother to demand Chan Mai's expulsion. Chan Mai was sent home for a few days but didn't care much, spending her time eating ice cream with a Jeong and T So-yeon. This incident deepened their bond. A Jeong told Chan Mai that her brother was a good person, strong and good at fighting, but he never bullied anyone. However, after the second year of high school, he became more aggressive and started fighting others. A Jeong revealed that Oh Sung was the culprit. Oh Sung always presented himself as the perfect class president, but a Jeong had witnessed him talking to Chan Kyu, seemingly wanting him to do something for him. Regarding the case of Ju Hyuk-jin, the police investigation revealed that his case was similar to the one at Yongtan High School, also occurring this year. Both victims had something in common: the perpetrators were bullies. The investigation revealed that Ju Hyuk-jin died of suffocation, strangled by the perpetrator. As Soo Hyun only threatened him that day, it seemed there was something fishy going on. Since both cases might be related, the chief assigned the investigation to Jin So-jeong's team. The police team went to Sa Young-kang to see if he had any further information. Sa Young-kang chuckled and said that the attacker had punched him, so he could only smell the assailant. He described the smell as a mix of factory oil and something like a medical scent. To find out more, the police visited Chan Mai that evening. They inquired about Jae Soo-hyun, which surprised her. They were clearly investigating her brother's case, so why were they asking about Jae Soo-hyun? Was Jae Soo-hyun the one who killed these people? Meanwhile, Jin So-jeong visited Soo-hyun and questioned him. He was honest and straightforward, leaving her with no new information. The scene shifted to Oh Sung and Kuk Jae-hein having breakfast together. Oh Sung's father reprimanded him for not protecting his younger sister, but Oh Sung remained silent. His father declared that he wouldn't let Chan Mai get away with what she had done to his daughter. However, Kuk Jae-hein wanted to keep Chan Mai in school so she could get revenge. Oh Sung told her not to create any trouble, and that he would handle things smoothly. His way of resolving things smoothly was to meet with Chan Mai and apologize, blaming everything on Kuk Jae-hein. At the same time, the female police officer visited the doctor. She wanted to know about Ju Hyuk-jin's visit a few days earlier and inform her about his death. The doctor was shocked and surprised. While washing her hands, she was seen by T So-yeon, who recognized her as a police officer. She then went to the doctor's room to inquire. Hearing the news of Ju Hyuk-jin's death, she couldn't believe it and went to find Soo Hyun. She informed him of the situation and urged him to turn himself in, but he couldn't confess to something he didn't do. Meanwhile, Jin So-jeong discovered that the smell of alcohol and oil belonged to bowling ball polish. She immediately remembered that Soo Hyun worked part-time at a bowling alley and went there to question him. She asked him to open his locker, but it only contained books and nothing suspicious. She didn't stop there and said she would check other lockers, but secretly called her colleague to keep Soo Hyun there while she investigated the lockers at his boxing gym. Soo Hyun guessed what she was doing and fled on his motorcycle before the male officer could stop him. They both rushed to the boxing gym, knowing that if Soo Hyun's locker was searched, everything would be exposed. The female officer arrived first, but when she opened it, it was empty. Soo Hyun was relieved, though he didn't know who had taken it. It was Chan Mai who had taken the bag. To discover the truth and fueled by suspicion that Soo Hyun killed her brother, Chan Mai left a message for Soo Hyun: meet in Busan. Soo Hyun immediately took a bus to Busan. Upon arriving at the meeting place, he found himself at an abandoned house where Chan Mai was waiting. She walked out, carrying Soo Hyun's bag, and without listening to his explanation, fired a shot that grazed his shoulder. Chan Mai didn't understand why Soo-hyun asked her to meet him and why he acted that way. Soo-hyun said he didn't kill Ju Hyuk-jen and that there must be a misunderstanding. But Chan Mai didn't care about those things. She just wanted to talk about Soo-hyun killing her brother. Soo-hyun said he didn't do it. Then he grabbed the gun from Chan Mai and pointed it at his head. He said that if she believed he killed her brother, he would shoot himself in front of her. He insisted that he didn't do it and promised to help Chan Mai find the real killer. This resolved the misunderstanding between them. Chan Mai took Soo-hyun to a drugstore to buy supplies for cleaning his wounds. Then she went to a clothing store to buy him some clothes to change into. It seemed like Chan Mai also realized that she had misunderstood Soo-hyun and had done something wrong to him. They went into a photo booth so Chan Mai could clean his wound. Because she was responsible for his injury, she felt embarrassed while cleaning it. After changing clothes, Soo-hyun kept Chan Mai there to take pictures. He said that being shot in peacetime was rare, so they should take pictures to commemorate the day. He dragged Chan Mai to take pictures with him and then gave her some photos to keep as souvenirs. The scene shifted to Oh-sung playing basketball. Seok Yi-bum came to talk to him. He said he still didn't remember why he attempted suicide. Oh-sung said he probably had to experience some kind of shock to remember. Seok Yi-bum said he went to the building near the racetrack to see if he could recover any memories about jumping there, but he couldn't remember anything. Oh-sung then took out something from his bag to show Seok Yi-bum. He said the items in the envelope were things Seok Yi-bum left for him and told him to keep them safe. Oh-sung added that before Seok Yi-bum jumped, he told him not to open it. But after Seok Yi-bum jumped and fell into a coma for 6 months, Oh-sung got curious and opened it. Now that Seok Yi-bum was awake, he gave it back to him. Inside the envelope were only pictures of Seok Yi-bum and Chan Kyu, making him feel a little scared. Seok Yi-bum thought that he and Chan Kyu must have been very close friends and that there was something between them. That could be the reason why Chan Kyu's death made Seok Yi-bum feel depressed and attempt suicide. However, Oh-sung's intentions seemed anything but simple. Back to Chan Mai and Jai Soo-hyun. After cleaning his wound, they stood on the beach and talked. Chan Mai asked what Jai Soo-hyun planned to do since he was now a suspect in the case at the repair shop. Soo-hyun said he should also thank Chan Mai because if she hadn't hidden his bag, he might be in detention now. His priority now was to find the perpetrator of that case as soon as possible. Jai Soo-hyun asked Chan Mai why she knew the police were coming for him and hid his bag. She said that she heard the police car and remembered the bag she saw him carrying when he came back from exercising earlier. She thought there might be something related to Jai Soo-hyun, so she took his bag to help him. Jai Soo-hyun thanked her for helping him in such a dangerous situation. He recalled that when they were struggling, someone called using Chan Kyu's phone number. So, it must have been someone who knew him or the perpetrator. They went to a laundromat to wash Jai Soo-hyun's clothes to avoid suspicion. He confessed to Chan Mai why he attacked the repairman. Jai Soo-hyun said that his mother was seriously ill in the hospital and needed treatment. That was why he did those things to take care of her. But he never intended to kill or hurt anyone. This helped Chan Mai understand Jai Soo-hyun better. After sleeping at the laundromat, he woke up and received a message from Jai Soo-hyun, which reassured her. She went home. As soon as she arrived, she saw a female police officer looking for Soo-hyun because he hadn't gone to school and was a suspect. Chan Mai said she didn't know where he was and then urged them to discuss the matter of her brother. The police officer found Chan Mai's attitude strange and told her to stay away from Jai Soo-hyun because he was a suspect. The next day, Chan Mai's suspension from school was over, so she returned to school. But Jai Soo-hyun was still absent, and everyone in the class was wondering why. Meanwhile, the police checked the security cameras and saw footage of Chan Mai carrying Jai Soo-hyun's bag before they arrived that day. But the female police officer, Jin So-jeong, was puzzled and didn't understand why Chan Mai did that. It was like helping the perpetrator who killed her brother escape. The scene shifted to Oh-sung talking to Seok Yi-bum's mother. She thanked him for helping her son stabilize. Since waking up, Seok Yi-bum has gradually recalled more memories. Now he wanted to investigate something and lured Chan Mai out. Then he went to her room to find something. Just as Kuk Jae-hyun and Oh Sung arrived to check on Soo-hyun because he hadn't been to school for several days, they saw Seok Yi-bum coming out of Chan Mai's room. Seok Yi-bum said he needed to look into something and then said goodbye and left. Kuk Jae-hyun knew Chan Mai was also there and she must have had malicious intentions to seek revenge. Downstairs, Kuk Jae-hyun was already furious because she knew Chan Mai and Soo-hyun were together. Then she saw their car, which fueled her desire for revenge. Meanwhile, Soo-hyun had been missing for several days because he was in the hospital checking on his brain tumor. The doctor told him that there was no improvement and advised him to have surgery soon. Then he handed him a card, saying to contact him if he needed anything. This touched Soo-hyun deeply. The next morning, Chan Mai went to work, unaware that Kuk Jae-hyun had cut her brakes. After driving a short distance, Chan Mai realized that her car couldn't brake and panicked. Fortunately, she crashed into a pile of goods on the side of the road, avoiding serious injury. After having her car checked and discovering that her brake lines were cut, she knew that the most likely person behind it was Kuk Jae-hyun. Chan Mai went straight to school and turned on the loudspeaker, telling the person who harmed her that she was safe and anyone who touched her would be found. Due to her injuries, Chan Mai didn't want to go to school and returned home. But the first thing she saw was her room in shambles. Chan Mai looked at her room, speechless and helpless. She started cleaning up the room and couldn't find her brother's pictures. While searching, there was a knock at the door. It turned out to be Soo-hyun. Chan Mai was happy to see him because he had been missing for several days, causing her to worry about him. Soo-hyun said he had been hiding for a few days, so he had to turn off his phone. Then he invited Chan Mai to go out and relax. When they arrived at the karaoke bar and opened the door, Chan Mai was surprised to find that her close friends had organized a birthday party for her. They wished Chan Mai a happy birthday and then playfully smeared cake on her face. At this moment, Oh Sung went to find Seok Yi-bum and also arrived there. Seeing everyone celebrating, he said he would wait outside. Just as Oh Sung was about to leave, someone called him. Soo-hyun was surprised by the ringtone, because it was the same sound as the call someone made to Chan Mai the day before, using Chan Kayu's number. Soo-hyun immediately told Chan Mai about this. He said that the ringtone was very familiar and close to Chan Kayu, so he thought the person who called earlier was Oh Sung. Chan Mai, furious, was about to find Oh Sung and shoot him, but Soo-hyun stopped her. He told her he wouldn't let her do this alone and that this wasn't the best approach. They needed more information and then they would find a way to get revenge. Soo-hyun asked if Chan Mai wanted to report it to the police immediately, but Chan Mai said Oh Sung's father was the police chief and they didn't have enough evidence yet. They needed to identify the ringtone and then gradually make Oh Sung pay for what he did. The scene shifted to the police station, where they were investigating the case at the repair shop where Ju Hyuk-jen was killed. The female police officer said they had found an additional detail, which was a corner of an invoice from a certain business. She suspected it belonged to the killer because after investigating, she realized it wasn't a barcode that could be obtained from a restaurant or anywhere around the area. Therefore, she suspected that this barcode might belong to a certain company, so she only needed to check the company and the individual's ID to find them. Upon hearing this, the chief also agreed and allowed her to investigate the case as soon as possible. Immediately, she and her colleague began working to find each company that used that type of barcode. Finally, they got some information when the owner of a coffee shop said that the receipt looked like the membership card at his place. After verifying, it was indeed the same, so the police officer asked the owner to help him check the member information. After getting the results, the police officer hid it from his colleague and said he didn't find anything. What was the reason for this? At the same time, Soo-hyun found a Jeong and T So-yeon to discuss, asking them to find a way to get Oh Sung's phone. The plan was set, and during break time, T So-yeon intentionally approached Oh Sung and started an argument with him. This attracted everyone to intervene, and a Jeong quickly took Oh Sung's phone. He then gave it to Soo-hyun to check. Soo-hyun immediately went to the restroom to check the call history. But when he opened it, it was a new phone with no call history. Just then, Oh Sung went to look for his phone, which had location tracking, so he quickly went to the restroom where Soo-hyun was. Fortunately, before Oh Sung opened the door, Soo-hyun managed to escape. He went back to class and was seen by Oh Sung, who became suspicious. After failing to get anything, Soo-hyun reported back to Chan Mai. In the evening, on the way home from school, Soo-hyun was followed by someone who was about to attack him. But he was bad at fighting and mistook the wrong person. Soo-hyun quickly subdued him. Taking off his mask, the person turned out to be Si-jin. Soo-hyun took him to meet Chan Mai to talk. Chan Mai said that Soo-hyun wasn't the killer, and it seemed like the killer wanted to frame him. At this moment, Si-jin believed Chan Mai's words and apologized to Soo-hyun. He said that he was about to go to the S, and when he thought Soo-hyun was the culprit, he wanted to punish him. He was also the one who smashed the windows because he thought Chan Mai knew Soo-hyun was the one who killed her brother but didn't do anything. Therefore, Si-jin decided to take justice into his own hands. Chan Mai talked about her car having its brakes cut, but Si-jin said he didn't do it. He didn't know anything about the brake line incident and also didn't want to hurt her like that. At the same time, the male police officer went to see the chief to talk. He said he had found more clues about the murder at the repair shop. He investigated the barcode and found out that it belonged to a coffee shop, and the member who used the receipt was the chief's son. Upon hearing that the receipt belonged to Oh-sung, the chief was a little confused. He asked the male police officer if he had told anyone, but the officer said he kept it a secret. He wanted the chief to know about this first and would follow his instructions. The chief said he would discuss this with him tomorrow. The next day, in the chief's office, the male police officers said that according to the security footage, Oh-sung's time frame on that day matched the time of the victim's assault. Furthermore, Oh-sung left his phone at the coffee shop and didn't go back to get it. The victim was a male student who attended the same junior high school as Oh-sung, 1 year older than the chief's son. Upon hearing this, the chief said that the officer needed to keep it a secret and he would question Oh-sung tonight. At the same time, by coincidence, the female police officer Jin So-jeong received a call from the owner of the coffee shop. When she arrived to check the situation, she realized that her colleague was hiding the fact that Oh-sung was a suspect. The scene shifted to Soo-hyun and Chan Mai's classroom. To find more evidence, Soo-hyun went to Kuk Jae-hyun and said he wanted to ask her for extra lessons because he had missed a few days of school. Kuk Jae-hyun didn't think twice and immediately agreed. After school, they went to her house to study. While Kuk Jae-hyun was changing clothes, Soo-hyun sneaked into Oh-sung's room to find evidence. When things were going smoothly, Kuk Jae-hyun decided to make instant noodles because she was hungry, but she also took a picture and posted it on social media. By chance, Oh-sung was sitting in a cafe, drinking water and reading comments, when he saw that Soo-hyun was at his house. He quickly rushed back home. Oh-sung was furious when he saw Soo-hyun and asked why he was in his house. Just as they were about to get into a fight, the female police officer, Jin So-jeong, arrived and stopped Oh-sung. She said she had a warrant for Oh-sung's arrest and needed him to come with her for investigation. Oh-sung angrily said he would call his father, but Jin So-jeong said that his father already knew about it. In the interrogation room, Oh-sung said he didn't know why that corner of the invoice was at the crime scene. He acted unconcerned and said that he left his phone at the coffee shop because he was forgetful. Since there wasn't much evidence, the police officer let him go. At the same time, Soo-hyun received news that his mother's condition had worsened and she had to be hospitalized. He immediately went to the hospital. Jeong went to the hospital to check on Soo-hyun. She asked about his mother's health and learned that she still wasn't improving. She told him that she had just come back from meeting Min Seon-ha's father at the transportation center. He told her that the bastard Sa Young-jong was bullying Min Seon-ha again and said he was no longer human. Soo-hyun said he would handle this and it seemed dangerous, so he told Jeong that she should stop here. She said it was okay because she hadn't told T So-yeon about this yet. Then she said goodbye to Soo-hyun and went to school. Right after Jeong left, Soo-hyun's classmate came to the hospital. Seeing 2 cans of soda, she immediately understood the situation. When she asked Soo-hyun, he lied and said he was thirsty so he drank 2 cans, although she knew very well that wasn't true. She seemed to have a crush on Soo-hyun and kept caring about his health while they were eating. She also told him to go back to school and think about his future. Soo-hyun didn't listen and showed her a photo that he had taken from the drawer in Gi Oh-sung's room. According to Soo-hyun, he was now sure that Gi Oh-sung was the culprit, but they still needed to investigate further to see what happened between the 4 of them and then reach a conclusion. Gi Oh-sung, on the other hand, realized that Soo-hyun had searched his drawer, so he was furious and began to plot against him. Oh-sung was also called by his father to be questioned about the previous murder. He insisted that he had nothing to do with it, and the fight with his classmate at home was only because the classmate sneaked into his room to search through his things. When asked, his father knew that Soo-hyun was involved in this murder case. Oh-sung insisted that nothing happened, but his father said he saw Oh-sung's coffee shop receipt at the crime scene. His father thought the receipt had something to do with Soo-hyun, but Oh-sung was stupid and didn't know anything. The perpetrator intentionally dropped Oh-sung's coffee shop receipt at the murder scene because his father thought the person wanted to frame his son. His father didn't want his son to be involved in this anymore and chased Oh-sung away to go to school. Oh-sung, on the other hand, looked at his father with bullet-like eyes, as if he had something in mind. Chan Mai went to her uncle's repair shop and decided to sell her beloved car. Even though she was a little reluctant, she had to do it to get money to gamble. The disabled boy went to school and saw Oh-sung waiting there. Oh-sung told him about his plan to beat up Soo-hyun. The disabled boy thought it was a good plan, so they carried out the plan together. Soon, Oh-sung and Soo-hyun confronted each other in a secluded corner of the school. Oh-sung was furious because he thought Soo-hyun had stolen the photo from his room and was the murderer. Seeing that Oh-sung was completely crazy, Soo-hyun beat him up a few times and left in a blaze of glory. Soo-hyun's classmate approached the boy in the photo and wanted to ask about the situation of the four of them. But the boy currently had temporary amnesia and couldn't say anything. What she suspected was why Oh-sung was in the photo and how he could be so close to the three of them. After class, Yi-bum went to ask about the photo, but Oh-sung repeatedly denied understanding, as if he was hiding something. He also opened a new Instagram account called InZgam and posted countless photos of Jae-hyun. So-yeon was suspicious, wondering why Oh-sung, who usually didn't use social media, suddenly started using it. She thought he must have an ulterior motive. Jae-hyun, upon learning about this, called Oh-sung to the rooftop to interrogate him. However, Oh-sung claimed that he was just trying to get likes and had no other intentions. He refused to let Jae-hyun delete the post, forcing her to wait 2 days before he would delete it. Feeling like her image was being tarnished, Jae-hyun tried to grab Oh-sung's phone to delete the post herself, but he pushed her to the ground. The scene shifted to Jong-guk and his senior, who were eating ramen, feeling uneasy about their inability to solve the murder case at the car garage. Suddenly, Jong-guk remembered that he had a secret video from that place. His senior, intrigued, put down her ramen and watched the video. It showed a man completely covered, doing something very mysterious. Jong-guk revealed that he got the video from a pervert who would go to houses with female students at night, trying to do inappropriate things. He was caught trying to steal a camera, which he later found on the roof of the car garage. The next morning, when he went back to retrieve the camera, he found a lot of police officers there. That's how Jong-guk got the video. He also told his senior that he had arrested the pervert because he was too disgusting and charged him with sexual assault. Seon-ha went out and ran into the disabled guy again. He asked her who hurt him, but she didn't know and couldn't answer. He threatened her, saying he would eliminate her if she didn't tell him, leaving her scared. Chan Mai went out and bumped into Oh-sung, who snatched the bag she was carrying. Inside the bag were photos of Oh-sung's group. He warned his senior to stay away from Chan Mai, as it wouldn't end well. Seon-ha went home to her father, expressing her fear of Young-jong bullying her again the next day. She wanted to transfer schools and get as far away from this place as possible. Her father tried to reassure her, saying he had already taken care of Young-jong and would teach him a lesson for what he did to his daughter. While they were talking, Oh-sung overheard their conversation and went to inform Young-jong. Upon hearing this, Young-jong panicked, wondering what would happen to him this time. Oh-sung then told him a plan to deal with the situation. He instructed Young-jong's group not to touch Soo-hyun, assuring him that he would handle everything else. The next day, as Young-jong was getting in his car, Soo-hyun chased after him on a motorcycle. Oh-sung set up cameras at Young-jong's place, preparing for his plan. Meanwhile, Yi-bum was teaching his friend how to drive, and they had a heart-to-heart conversation. Yi-bum told her that he used to have a twin brother who died unexpectedly. He had the feeling that his brother was still alive and beside him. It took him a year to realize that his brother was gone. From then on, he tried to live happily and stop thinking about his brother. Moved by his story, his friend promised not to tell anyone about this secret. In return, Yi-bum promised not to tell anyone about her upcoming plans. Soo-hyun was closely following Young-jung, making him nervous. Oh-sung called Young-jung and told him to stay calm in any situation if he didn't want to break his leg. That night, Chan-mi woke up to a message that Soo-hyun's mother had passed away. She frantically tried to find him, but couldn't contact him. Soo-hyun's friends also quickly found out about this and started strategizing to save him. He had fallen into Oh-sung's trap, which made Oh-sung very proud. When Soo-hyun arrived at the door of Young-jung's house, Young-jung cooperated by opening the door, allowing Soo-hyun to rush in and start fighting. Seeing the exciting scene unfold, Oh-sung ran in and removed his mask. To everyone's surprise, the person under the mask was Yi-bum. Soo-hyun, driving his senior's car on the road, cried uncontrollably after learning about his mother's death. Knowing about Oh-sung's sinister plan, Seon-ha told Chan-mi and Yi-bum where Young-jung was so they could warn Soo-hyun in time and then change their plan of action. Soo-hyun and Chan-mi went back, successfully avoiding the police, while Oh-sung was furious with Yi-bum for ruining his plan. He was thinking about ways to make Yi-bum pay when the police arrived, forcing Oh-sung to jump into his car and flee. However, the police had already surrounded his group. Yi-bum and Young-jung, still eager to fight each other, were about to start when the police intervened and took them both to the station. Soo-hyun's mother's funeral was held with his family and friends mourning her passing. At the police station, So-jeong informed Oh-sung's father that his son had committed a crime by illegally installing a surveillance camera. Yi-bum was also questioned, and he calmly answered So-jeong's questions. With his ability to lie, Yi-bum managed to convince her, although she remained suspicious. However, So-jeong didn't have any evidence to charge Yi-bum. Young-jung, trying to act innocent, didn't tell Jong-guk anything, lying through his teeth. Oh-sung was also brought in for questioning, but he was not scared of the inspector because his father was the police chief. Instead, he analyzed the case and suggested that Soo-hyun was the prime suspect in the murder case. At his mother's funeral, So-jeong and her husband came to pay their respects. Seeing the inspector there, Soo-hyun and his friends became worried. Fortunately, So-jeong just paid her condolences and left, avoiding any awkward situations for Soo-hyun. Later, when he was sitting with his friends, he thanked them for helping him, especially Yi-bum. However, he didn't think much of it, only hoping that Soo-hyun would remember the favor. After taking his mother to her final resting place, Soo-hyun told his friends that Won-seok was also there. Everyone felt saddened, especially Chan-mi. The police still hadn't found the real culprit behind Won-seok's murder. The main suspect was Oh-sung, but they didn't know how to charge him without evidence. This was further complicated by his father being the police chief. When Yi-bum arrived at school, he ran into Oh-sung. They went to the theater to talk privately. Oh-sung thought Yi-bum had betrayed him because he was supposed to catch Soo-hyun that night, not Yi-bum. Yi-bum confidently told him that Oh-sung was correct, but he didn't want Soo-hyun to fall into Oh-sung's hands, no matter what. Seeing that he couldn't do anything, Yi-bum mentioned the incident where Yi-bum fell from a high building, leaving Yi-bum speechless. Chan-mi and Soo-hyun took a train to the beach to talk and try to forget their sorrows. Chan-mi didn't have anything to tell him to cheer him up, so she just started talking about her brother. Although her story was silly, she was happy to see him smile. They went to eat barbecue together that night, and Chan-mi continued her story about her brother and his girlfriend going to eat barbecue. Realizing it was too silly, she shifted to the main topic and showed him 4 pictures. They were pictures of the people they were looking for. Chan-mi's brother was dead and couldn't reveal any secrets, and Yi-bum had amnesia. The only person they could get information from was Oh-sung, but he was an enemy, making it difficult. The most important thing for Soo-hyun now was to eat, so he decided to eat first and think about the rest later. Oh-sung was at home, having his phone confiscated by his father for his reckless actions. His father was furious with Oh-sung and told him that what he was doing was no different from telling the police that he was the murderer. Yi-bum was taking a shower when he suddenly remembered something. He ran out and looked at the door he had taped up, remembering what he had done there. The next morning, he arrived at school and received a call from Chan-mi, who had something related to Oh-sung that she needed his help with. Yi Bum, known for his womanizing ways, sought out Oh Sung to discuss his accident. Oh Sung revealed it wasn't a traffic accident, but an attempted murder. Someone had pushed Yi Bum from the rooftop, and while Yi Bum was initially skeptical, he wanted to know more details about the person who pushed him. The culprit was none other than Won Seok. Chan Mai, who was secretly recording their conversation, was heartbroken but managed to contain her emotions. At school, Soo-hyun saw Oh Sung and was taunted by him about the past incident. Soo-hyun tried to ignore him, but when Oh Sung insulted him, saying he would go to jail, Soo-hyun got angry and fought with him. However, he suddenly fainted. Chan Mai, who was still reeling from the previous conversation, saw Soo-hyun fall and rushed to his side. Knowing he had a brain tumor, she took him to the hospital with the help of the first responders. After the examination, Chan Mai asked the doctor about Soo-hyun's condition. The doctor told her it was very bad, and his survival depended on luck. Yi Bum again met with Oh Sung to clarify things about Won Seok, but this time, Oh Sung refused to share any further information. That evening, Chan Mai was heartbroken over Soo-hyun's condition, while Yi Bum was deep in thought about Oh Sung's words. He couldn't escape the memories he had just regained, and couldn't believe that Won Seok was the one who pushed him. In his dream, Soo-hyun saw his mother slowly fading away. He woke up in the hospital and was told by the doctor that Chan Mai had brought him there and that she knew about his brain tumor. Outside the hospital, he saw the video recording Chan Mai had made. She explained to him that Yi Bum's amnesia was caused by her brother, Won Seok, though she wasn't sure if it was true. She wanted to inform Soo-hyun and urged him to stay away from Yi Bum's affairs and live a peaceful life. After watching the video, Soo-hyun immediately went to Chan Mai's house, but she was gone, leaving behind a small note. Chan Mai also sent Yi Bum an identical video with a slightly different meaning, leaving him feeling very uneasy. Soo-hyun went to Oh Sung's house to investigate and coincidentally saw Young Jong arriving. As Oh Sung came out, Soo-hyun noticed that he was wearing white shoes with red laces, matching the description given by the witness. Young Jong was furious with Oh Sung for delaying his plan and blurted out that he had lied to Yi Bum, saying Won Seok pushed him off the balcony. Suddenly, there was a knock at the door, and Young Jong was about to leave when Soo-hyun knocked him unconscious with a kick. He went inside and asked Oh Sung about Won Seok pushing Yi Bum, and Oh Sung revealed it was all a lie. Soo-hyun, enraged, beat up Oh Sung. Luckily, his conscience got the better of him, and he spared Oh Sung. Chan Mai sat on the beach, listening to the recording again, and realized there was a secret hidden within it. Soo-hyun stepped outside and encountered the reckless Young Jong, who was ready to fight him again. He was knocked to the ground, but luckily, before Soo-hyun could retaliate, Yi Bum arrived and stopped him. Yi Bum then went to see Oh Sung, wanting to know the truth about who pushed him, but Oh Sung, instead of answering, shooed Yi Bum away. It was only after sitting with Soo-hyun that Yi Bum revealed Oh Sung's deception. Just then, Chan Mai texted from an unfamiliar number. Soo-hyun couldn't help but call her, scolding her for disappearing without a word. Yi Bum and Soo-hyun went to Chan Mai's location, where the three of them discovered that Oh Sung had been lying to them all this time. Oh Sung returned home with a bruised face. His father, seeing this, was furious, thinking his son had gotten into another fight with his schoolmates. He interrogated Oh Sung, who claimed that Young Jong was the culprit. His father then accused him of being involved in Won Seok's death. Oh Sung, going against his conscience, denied it. That evening, Soo-hyun and Chan Mai walked home together, Soo-hyun wearing a red string for good luck. Chan Mai took his hand, and they held hands the whole way until Chan Mai went into a convenience store. Outside, Young Jong's group ambushed Soo-hyun, dragging him away. Chan Mai was threatened and prevented from calling the police, so she called Yi Bum for help. Young Jong was delighted to see Soo-hyun trapped and, fueled by his revenge, beat him up repeatedly, getting back at him for breaking his toe earlier. Yi Bum remembered that Oh Sung was the one who pushed him off the balcony. He contacted Chan Mai and informed her of Soo-hyun's location, but told her not to call the police. The next morning, Oh Sung went to the same location and was stopped by two men who looked like gangsters. They planted a tracking device in his bag. Upon seeing Soo-hyun, Oh Sung kicked him brutally. Meanwhile, Chan Mai went to the police station to report that she had received a call from her brother, Won Seok's number. Inspector Jiang was surprised and thought Chiang Mai was out of her mind because a dead person can't make calls. Inspector Guk brought them the fingerprint evidence from the investigation, revealing that the perpetrator was left-handed. Chiang Mai, realizing something, went silent for a moment and then revealed the phone number from which she received the call. Su Hyun suffered under Oh Sung's brutal attack. Oh Sung forced Su Hyun to confess to the crime, but refused to admit to Won Seok's death. Enraged, Oh Sung took out a machete, intending to threaten him. Just as he was about to attack, Yi Bum's men arrived and stopped him. Oh Sung, recognizing them, remembered they were the ones who had taken his car that morning. Soon, Yi Bum arrived and grabbed Oh Sung by the collar. He seemed to have regained almost all his memories but spared Oh Sung, giving him a chance to redeem himself. Chiang Mai was worried to see Su Hyun injured. However, her real worry was Yi Bum, who seemed different. The inspectors discovered that Won Seok's bank account was still active and connected to the church's account, with money being withdrawn regularly. The call logs also matched the dates Chiang Mai had mentioned. So Yeon informed Chiang Mai that the police had visited her the previous day, showed her CCTV footage of her talking with Seon Ha's father, and accused her of orchestrating revenge for Su Hyun. If he only beat people up without taking money, he'd just be arrested for assault. But if he takes money to beat people up, he'll be in jail for a long time. Hearing this, Chiang Mai was terrified. So Yeon then informed her that the more important issue was Hyokjin. If the police suspected Chiang Mai of being a broker, she would have to disappear immediately because there was a high chance she could be arrested. So Yeon told Chiang Mai that she would leave that night, erasing any traces of the broker. While they were talking, Inspector Guk arrived. So Yeon quickly hid to avoid exposing her identity. He also revealed some information to Chiang Mai about the call she received from her brother's number. Then he went to question his basketball buddies about Oh Sung's whereabouts. It turned out that Oh Sung was at his father's house, openly admitting to his father that he liked Jae Kyeon. His father was furious and absolutely refused to allow his son to date his younger sister, even though they weren't related by blood. He considered them family and forbade any romantic relationships between them. Meanwhile, Jae Kyeon was with Yi Bum at their meeting place. She wanted to go back home, but he wouldn't let her, insisting that she needed to stay there so Oh Sung would tell the truth. Su Hyun and Chiang Mai were having a meal when Su Hyun remembered that he had kicked Won Seok with his left foot in the gym. Knowing that Chiang Mai had the video, he asked her for it. But she was in America and had changed her number, so they couldn't get in touch. Oh Sung also went to the meeting place to meet Yi Bum and Jae Kyeon. He wanted to know if Oh Sung was the one who pushed him off the rooftop. Oh Sung admitted that he was the one but claimed it wasn't intentional. Jae Kyeon, furious, left, leaving the two men to talk. Oh Sung then revealed Yi Bum's true face, claiming that Yi Bum was the one who pushed Won Seok out of the science lab window. It turned out that Oh Sung had brainwashed him, making him believe that Won Seok was the one who pushed him off the rooftop. Now, everything was starting to be revealed. The next morning, Chiang Mai went to see Jin's old school to retrieve her friend's phone. With the phone, Chiang Mai and Su Hyun got hold of the video of Won Seok being pushed down in the science lab. According to Su Hyun, the person who pushed him used their left foot, and the prime suspect now was Yi Bum, as Oh Sung couldn't use his left foot. Therefore, Su Hyun started investigating Yi Bum, paying close attention to his every move. Yi Bum went into the restroom, turned off his phone, and pretended to look for it, slipping away from Su Hyun's watchful eyes. Su Hyun and Chiang Mai then went to a phone store and bought a phone identical to Won Seok's, preparing to trap Yi Bum. Su Hyun went to Yi Bum's house and started acting in a way that would make Yi Bum nervous. When a stranger texted Yi Bum, informing him that Won Seok's phone had been found, Yi Bum instinctively switched his phone to his left hand, exposing himself to Su Hyun. Yi Bum, seeing this, drove off at breakneck speed to find his original phone. At the horse farm, he finally found Won Seok's phone. It was only then that he realized he had fallen into a trap. When he returned, he saw Su Hyun waiting for him. Just when it seemed like things would end, Oh Sung appeared behind Su Hyun, knocking him unconscious and saving Yi Bum. He revealed that Chiang Mai was the one who had sent the message to Yi Bum, telling him that Won Seok's phone had been found. Oh Sung also took Su Hyun's phone to dispose of it. Meanwhile, at home, Chiang Mai tried to reach Su Hyun, but he didn't answer. Yi Bum, fueled by the lies Oh Sung had fed him, was furious. He desperately tried to get the truth about his fall from the rooftop, but Oh Sung refused to say anything. The two engaged in a brutal fight. Soo Hyun could only see a blurry image of the fight before he was knocked unconscious again, unable to recognize the attacker. After waking up and returning to Chan Mai's place, Soo Hyun told her that Yi Bum was the one who had taken Won Seok's phone. Yi Bum drove to a river, and his whereabouts remained unknown. The next day, Soo Hyun and Chan Mai noticed his absence from school and suspected he had fled. They rushed to the police station to report that Yi Bum had Won Seok's phone. At Yi Bum's car location, police and divers searched for the owner of the vehicle. Inspector Jeong informed them that Yi Bum had disappeared from the outskirts of the river that morning. She then called Soo Hyun in for questioning about the case. She emphasized that they couldn't convict Yi Bum without concrete evidence and hoped that Soo Hyun could find out who had knocked him unconscious. Later, Inspector Jeong and Guk went to the racetrack to investigate but found few leads. On their way to Yi Bum's disappearance location, Guk showed Jeong the video recorded at the park on the day Chan Mai said her brother called. It showed Oh Sung and Yi Bum, but the evidence wasn't concrete. Upon reaching the place where Yi Bum had disappeared, Inspector Guk realized it could be a staged disappearance to evade police investigation. They revisited the video and found something suspicious. Returning to the office, they compared the two videos and realized that Yi Bum and the person in the black clothes looked remarkably alike. Chan Mai went home and loaded her beloved gun. Then, she went to see Oh Sung. She immediately asked him if he was the one at the racetrack the night before. Oh Sung, being truthful, admitted to being there and even boasted about hitting Soo Hyun on the head. This revelation illuminated Chan Mai's investigation. She opened her phone, playing the recording of what Oh Sung had said earlier. She then called Inspector Jeong and told her that it was Oh Sung who had knocked Soo Hyun unconscious, leaving him furious and vowing revenge. Soo Hyun met with Jae Kyan and gave her a tracking device, hoping she could put it in Oh Sung's bag, allowing them to find Yi Bum and bring him in. Jae Kyan quickly placed the device in Oh Sung's bag without him suspecting a thing. She then went to class and informed Soo Hyun that the plan was successful. A Young called her best friend and revealed that Yi Bum was the one who murdered Won Seok, not Oh Sung. This shocked So Yeon, who went outside to think. She suddenly saw Yi Bum. Chan Mai then met with her brother's friend and told him about Yi Bum's current situation. She confirmed that Yi Bum was the murderer. Her brother revealed the story behind it. He had been in love with Won Seok. Once, they accidentally cooked each other a spicy tongue dish. Oh Sung secretly took a picture and used it to manipulate Won Seok into doing dirty work for him. Chan Mai was heartbroken to see what happened to her brother. At the police station, Inspector Jeong and Guk discovered that the person in black during the attempted murder was Yi Bum. Fueled by her brother's story, Chan Mai held a gun to Yi Bum, demanding an explanation about what happened that day. Yi Bum confessed to everything, but he insisted he didn't push Won Seok, claiming he didn't remember. He admitted that he had recently regained some memories, including the call he made to Chan Mai using Won Seok's phone. Chan Mai was frustrated with the man in front of her and was manipulated by him into giving up her gun. He knocked her unconscious. When she woke up, she realized that the person wasn't Yi Bum, but Yi Jun. She also learned that the death of the young man earlier was also caused by Yi Bum. That day, he had followed Soo Hyun and happened to see the young man tied up. He wanted to rescue him, but the young man mistook him for the perpetrator and verbally abused Yi Bum. This triggered Yi Bum's rage, and he strangled the young man to death. Yi Bum's coffee receipt from Oh Sung fell out, leading to Oh Sung being framed for murder. Chan Mai was stunned and filled with resentment towards Yi Bum. The Yi Bum she knew wouldn't have done something like this. She wished the person in front of her could give back the real Yi Bum. Her wish wasn't granted. It wasn't a Bollywood movie after all. Yi Bum, driven by madness, tried to kill himself with the gun, but it was unloaded. Inspector Jeong and her team arrived just in time to arrest Yi Bum. They apologized to Chan Mai for being late and for not being able to help her. Soo Hyun also received news of Yi Bum's arrest and his confession to all his crimes. His primary focus now was to rescue Jae Kyan from Oh Sung. Oh Sung forced Soo Hyun to kneel and beg for mercy. He then brutally beat Soo Hyun. Seizing an opportunity, Soo Hyun fought back, beating Oh Sung mercilessly. They fought on the rooftop, and Oh-sung fell to his death, ending their relationship. News of the incident spread through the school, with Soo-hyun hailed as a hero and Oh-sung considered a villain deserving of punishment. The two inspectors arrived at the scene to investigate. After questioning the students who had witnessed the incident, they concluded that Oh-sung had jumped off the building and that there was no one else involved. Jae Kyun, protecting Soo-hyun because of her guilty brother, covered up the truth. Inspector Jeong and Guk knew the students were lying but had no evidence. Therefore, the students' lies became the truth. In the end, everyone found peace at their beloved school. The third party's revenge was successful. Now, Soo-hyun could hold Chan Mai's hand without fear of any